On this episode, we learned about the entrepreneurial qualities of Breaking Bad.
And the spark that resides within all entrepreneurs.
Hey everybody, it's Ben Riley here at Life of Riley in Cazenovia, and we are here for episode 10 of A Week in the Life. I am here, as always, with
Jason Emerson.
And we are here with our very special guest,
Emad Rahim.
And who just drove in a 12-degree night in Cazenovia.
Shouldn't have done it.
Well, you were telling me off air, you used to make the drive from Syracuse to Morrisville. So
and
this is kind of
and I hate it.
Yeah. Never got any easier.
No.
So we are here, we're back. And the three stills are on, and this is kind of a neat setting, isn't it?
It is a very neat setting.
Have you ever
got a cool gig happening here?
So my wife Siobhan, she painted this for us.
Really?
Yeah.
How much she charge you for this?
A couple bottles of vodka, or a little wine.
A month's worth of dishes and
Yeah.
laundry.
Yeah.
And,
So personally, I'm going to be selfish. I want to jump right into your articles.
Yes.
Because we'll link up all your stuff down on our YouTube and our Facebook, but the article that I wrote that really moved me was the article that you wrote, and you were tagging Mayor Miner on it in Syracuse.
Yes.
Was entrepreneurship saves lives.
Yeah.
So can you just start talking about that, because it was amazing to me.
Well, thank you so much for reading.
It really was.
Yeah. Well, when we look at entrepreneurship, especially from a reality TV perspective, right? We only look at the Fortune 500 companies, like what these startups could be, right? We only look at the excitement and adventure piece of it, and that's really tied with like Facebook, right? So more of the reality star, Shark Tank type of stuff, right? But true entrepreneurship starts from the ground up, right? It's really an urban, inner city, rural type of grassroots movement, right? It's that grandfather that's taking care of his grandkids and want to make extra money, right? It's that refugee, it's that immigrant, it's that young college student that that single parent that is really trying to do something different, right? That's trying to create extra income, but also a new opportunity, right? And true entrepreneurship, when I say save lives, you're transforming lives,
Yes.
right? That's what is missing. We don't talk about that aspect of it, right? There's a lot of work that goes into entrepreneurship, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go to entrepreneurship. People lose hair, right? Because, so...
Doing okay so far. Not there yet. It's gray, but it's not,
yeah. So I really want to focus on what I think entrepreneurship is to me, that it does save lives, right? I know a lot of young people that were moving towards the wrong direction in life, right? And they were making really bad decisions. But then somewhere down the line, they realized they could use their talent for something else, right? And that something else is a viable business. It's a sustainable business. I happen to be one of those kids, right? Many years ago, right? So I wanted to really paint that light, right? And highlight those people that I thought were doing an amazing job at that. Give credit, because often the people that are really doing the work, putting a lot of the hours, missing their children and spouse, they don't get praises, right? They just do it.
The ones taking pictures of us now behind the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah, exactly. So we often look at the end game, right? After the business, right? But there's a lot of work that goes into there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of people that are involved in it. And through that process, we become different people, right? Hopefully better people because of that. Yeah.
would you say that it also gives a lot of people not just purpose, but even hope? Because they're building something from the ground up, and they're trying to sustain it. And as you said, sometimes, and as you know, it's not always a bouquet of flowers every day.
No,
it's a lot of hard work.
It is. I was just telling the story earlier that an hour before you got here, I was here in basketball shorts and a hoodie.
Yeah.
And this place is usually a mess. You guys can attest to this. It's usually a mess. And I was shop vacuuming in here and just making it try to look halfway decent for the show. But the 11 hours before you got here was the work. This to me, this is just so much fun.
Yeah.
Is talking about the work. It's just it's so much fun.
Yeah, and entrepreneurship, in a sense of not the service you're providing or the product you're creating, right? But the life choice decisions you're making, right? So that hope that you talk about is something that I can look forward to, right? I don't have the product yet, right? I don't even have the business yet, right? But I have this audacity of hope, right? Like, I'm crazy, I want that.
Yeah.
And that often is the driving force that makes us unique, that makes us great, that makes us powerful. And I think that's often what we forget about, right? When you read about these entrepreneurship literatures, from like the Black Swan or the E-Myth and things like that, we often forget about the story, right? The story that took us from this point to that point, right? There's something in the middle right there, right? But we don't know what that is, right? And it's a journey that we all go through as entrepreneurs, and that journey is powerful. That journey is amazing. That journey is transformational, and that journey, with the right support, with the right people around you, with the right environment, you have this hope that's the driving force to everything.
Yep. How did you know? Two-part question. How did you know when you had that in you? How did you know when you had the spark? And then now, fast forward, and you're helping mentor other entrepreneurs. What do you look for, and how do you know that they have the spark?
I think I didn't know I had the spark, right? I didn't know that the spark was in me. I just knew this was fun, right? I knew I was having a great time, even at my worst moments, right? I mean, I used to be this executive, had this, I was in Chicago, had a beautiful scenery, right? And I hate going into my suit and tie every day, right? I hated that, but that was because it was on someone else's term, right?
Yes.
Even if I made less money, knowing that I have the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to take a break now and go play with my kids, right? Or meet my wife for lunch, wherever, right? That to me is the driving force. That was that spark. That was like, I could do this. This is wonderful, right? So I left that 6-figure salary in Chicago, right, to really focus on something that I love, right, and something that I control. Now, when I work with young people or older people that are working on their business plan or their business idea, whatever it is, it's not always a spark. I want to make sure that they know what they're getting involved in, right? Because it's not a short-term goal, right? And it's not a race, right? It's a marathon. We're going to be at it for a while, right? So do you have the energy, the willingness, the fortitude, and also the passion to keep this going? Because you're going to hit a lot of fork in the roads. You're going to hit a lot of brick walls, right? So it's not always that what did you call it again?
I call it a spark.
The spark, right? It's not always that spark. I think that spark comes later. That spark comes with experience. That spark comes from dealing with certain situations, right? I think what it is that what's FC fortitude, right? It's that willingness to see it through. Right?
Now, your article that I read that I enjoyed the most was Siobhan did
We're getting
too.
Smiles from the back of the room.
Was the 4 greatest business tips I learned from Breaking Bad, which is, I'm sure, if any of you have watched the greatest show ever made on television, Breaking Bad. But, well, if you could explain it, we'll link the article on the website. But if you could kind of explain the article a little bit for people who haven't read it.
Yeah, my mind is actually kind of blank because I write so much. But I think some of the stuff that I highlight is like the negotiation piece of it, right?
Finding a good business partner, having an exit plan, finding a good product.
Because, a lot of these shows or these musicians, right, it's a part of a business, part of something larger, right? So instead of looking at things for entertainment, there's opportunities that we can learn from this stuff. I mean, some of the best teachers that we had in college or high school, we liked them because they were entertaining, right? Exactly. It's really, I know a lot of my academic friends hate when I say this, right? But we are really entertain us in so many aspects. Like, good teachers motivate you, inspire you, push you, and entertain you. They do this because they're very charismatic in the classroom, right? And they're able to teach you certain things in a way that other teachers couldn't, right? So I think if we look at pop culture, whether it's movies, television, music, there's opportunities to learn and grow from that environment. As a teacher, I try to be open-minded. Right? There are things that I don't watch, but I know it's trending, and I would tie some entrepreneurship piece in that. You know, I may not listen to every, you know, new Cash Money album that's out with Lil Wayne and all those guys. That's not my generation, right? But I try to tie something in there just so I can grab their attention and say, hey, listen, did you notice these things, right? Right? When you watch Breaking Bad, did you notice these things here? When you listen to Tyler Swift, did you notice these things here, right? It's not overnight, right? And so there's a lot of wonderful things that's taking place in these shows, in music, even in reality TV, which I can't stand, right? But if you look at it from a different angle, there's a lot of opportunities in business that you can learn.
And that's what struck me, was that it was, I had never noticed it, Breaking Bad, or you had one, guerrilla marketing the way Taylor Swift does. You know, things like that. They seem obvious, but they're not until I read it. I'm like, boy, that's absolutely right. You know, and like you said, I learned so much that I never considered from just reading that, and then just kind of opening your mind up to the opportunities that are available, like you were saying. So,
because many of us don't have traditional entrepreneurship education. Right? I mean, I don't think any of us, went to like the top school to take entrepreneurship. Right? So entrepreneurship is something that we do, right? It's in our genes, it's in our DNA, right? And you can be an entrepreneur, like someone that works at an organization, and kind of have that creative spirit and mindset to create something new in this company. So I think when it comes to how we perceive entrepreneurship, it's not academics. It's very practical. It's very something. It's more of an applied approach, right? So when you look at things from an applied perspective, it's very obtainable, right? It's not this elitist, narrow, private type of group, right? It's not just only that person can be an entrepreneur, right?
It's not like it was 10 or even 15 years ago. Entrepreneurship wasn't cool.
No, it wasn't.
For many, many years. It's like, oh, well, he just started his own job because he couldn't get a degree.
Exactly.
So now it's every 18, 22, 24-year-old, kid in a hoodie with a good idea thinks they can come up in a venture capital firm and raise $5 million in round A. So it's almost swung completely to the other side of the pendulum, which to me I love. I mean, I love that people are looking towards entrepreneurship as a starting point. I mean, there's kids on Instagram selling $24 million worth of shoes as a 16-year-old, or on Snapchat. It's amazing.
And technology makes it very obtainable. Right. I mean, I always tell people, when I grew up, it would cost you millions of dollars to get a PR firm. Your PR firm is Facebook, it's Twitter, right? Like, you have the ability to market yourself and your product in ways that no one could imagine possible a few years ago, right? You just have to be creative. You just have to be open-minded and be willing to utilize these resources and have fun with it, right? But I think many people, they say that's not for me. Right, that I don't do these things, right? Or I'm too old for these things, or and I always say that if you are a true entrepreneur, you're willing to try many things, right? You have to learn to step outside your comfort zone, because there's no comfort zone as an entrepreneur, right?
This thing wasn't comfortable when we started.
No, not at all.
We went back and looked at the first show. It looked like we were, we didn't have the microphone. We didn't have any of this stuff. And we were. I'm not going to speak for you.
No.
We were sweating. We were stuttering. We were, having fun. But it's like, this is something to do. This is something to promote yourself. And are we talking directly about vodka and where to mix and do this? No. But guess what? There's a big thing behind me. People know where we are. And it's about cross-promotion. It's about siphoning off each other's audiences, but it's about growing each other's stuff indirectly. So it's been a blast.
And also, successful entrepreneurship is a community of entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Right? When you look at Silicon Valley, you think of, the giants, right? But that environment, there was a culture of local, like-minded people that helped each other out, right? So now you go to, you go to Austin, you see this energy, right? You go to Chicago, you see this energy. You go to Nashville, you go to Atlanta, you go, some even upstate New York, right? You go to Rochester, you go to Syracuse. You see this energy of people getting together and saying, you know what, we're not being private in regards to our knowledge, our secrets, our resources. people are sharing it, right? It's like open source right here,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I'm sharing my information with you. I blog, I write, you provide these videos, you bring entrepreneurs, you bring business owners, and we're sharing something that other people would pay a fee for,
Right.
That's exactly
right?
Yeah.
But this is what true entrepreneurship's about, because I benefit when you benefit.
Right.
That's how we have to look at it. It's an ecosystem.
Right.
Yeah.
What does Central New York do better? Now you've been in a couple different communities. You just mentioned, you know, because we certainly have the best weather. We certainly have the best basketball team. We certainly. All kidding aside, what does Central New York get? Because I always feel as though Central New York is kind of on the forefront with people like you just mentioned, Chris Fowler, and people like Syracuse First. What do we do better than a lot of different places?
You know, what I find is that Central New York is a collection of people that is willing to try new things, right? And I think we do that because we don't have a plan B, right? We're used to plan A. It's Syracuse, like things go crazy all the time, right? So we often don't have that plan B mentality. We just go at it, right? And I think when we go at it, we do things that other people wouldn't think is possible, right? I mean, you guys have this brewery out in the middle of nowhere. You know,
he had a very hard time finding us like everybody else.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that says a lot about who you are as upstate people, right? But also, it's the thing I think is extremely amazing about upstate New York is the sustainable model. And when I say sustainable, it's our ecosystem. We help each other. Like this buy local movement started here. I mean, a lot of people can try to take that away from us, but it did start from here. The farm to table, that started here. And people can fight me on that, but Moosewood Restaurant's been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little bit less, but they've been doing it for a while, right? Local farmers up here, they've been business focused, local focused for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what is very unique, that we, as a business, we reach out to other businesses and see what type of resources I can get from you, I can service with you, I can partner with you, right? So if I have a coffee shop, instead of buying my beans from a corporate giant, I will see if there are local people that already do this very well, right? And as a collection, we grow stronger. Our network grows larger, and our influence grows larger. And we have more incubators, like business incubators. People don't realize it. Syracuse alone they have more incubators than some of these major cities. When I lived in Chicago, many of those entrepreneurship conferences, they would mention Syracuse, right? They mention what the Technology Garden is doing. They mention what SSIC is doing. They would highlight some of the stuff that Chris Fowler was doing, right? Because no one's doing this local movement like we are. But we tend to focus on the negative aspect.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You get the last question. We have 30 seconds.
Oh, putting me on the spot.
I know, I did. Sorry.
That was a great question you just had. I don't know if I can follow that one up. What's your favorite small business that you've encountered in Syracuse?
In Syracuse, my favorite small business. It's Recess Coffee.
There you go.
Really?
I love Recess. And Adam and his people are amazing people. I was at the coffee shop before they owned the coffee shop. There was a guy, I think by the name of Mike, who actually owned the coffee shop. And I was working my dissertation at the time, and he told me a thrash band was going to buy this coffee shop. I said, what the hell? I've never even heard of thrash music, right? So I was like, why would you sell this coffee shop, to a thrash band? He said that he was looking to do other things. He was a skateboarder. He wanted with Ithaca and Wright. I think that's where all the hippie skateboarders go to retire, I guess, right? So Adam and his group came in and they just transformed this place. But I think what's amazing is they knew nothing about coffee, but they wanted to know everything about coffee.
Exactly.
Right? Now they live and breathe it, and I think they were voted like the best coffee in upstate, something like that.
They're the best.
Wow.
We got to leave it at that. Shout out to Adam and Recess Coffee. We're going to go shoot some hoops for charity right now. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it. For having me.